Today's podcast, I'm going to unpack the question I get a lot, which is what model should I follow if I want to break into the industry? Hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so there's a presupposition to that question that there's a model and that there's such thing as breaking in. And I think we just got to break that myth or kill that myth. So breaking in. I don't think anybody breaks in. I think it takes a hell of a long time. I mean, I met with an actress last night who's going to be starring in a film that I'm producing in September or October. And she's been in the industry for about 10 years. And right now her career's rolling. She just booked a major role in a Tyler Perry pilot that's coming out on BET. And, you know, she's kind of a testament to hard work. Now, she may pop, and, we love her because we think, okay, this girl's going to pop. But does that happen overnight? No. I asked her when she started. She's like, really, if you ask my mom, I started when I was a baby, right? Looking at myself on TV because of the video, her parents would videotape her and she just want to watch herself on the television. And so, and she was always, kind of she was able to act from a really young age. And so, I think to assume that anybody really just breaks in, I think is really bogus, especially in this industry that takes a lot of skill, even as an actor. You think like an actor, like, oh, you get that one role and boom, you're just going to, blow up overnight. I just don't think that happens anymore. I mean, maybe it happened decades ago, but today with so much competition and the bar being raised and the method in which you have to rise up, I mean, nobody wants to let anybody jump the line. And I know this from experience. You have a lot of people that may, even if they're talented, somebody's not going to allow you to jump the line unless they really see a way for them to exploit you to make a lot of money, right? And so that happens. But for 99.9% of the people in this industry, it just doesn't happen. You have to work really hard and you have to be really good. Meaning, like, when people watch you or they look at your work or they read your script or whatever it may be, they're just like, they get that feeling like, okay, this person is going to pop, right? So breaking in, there's no real such thing. It just takes a lot of hard work and putting yourself in a position because, I'm a big believer in timing, right? Giving yourself the time that you need to be able to establish your skill set, especially in this industry. I think any actor that has been in this industry or even any writer, I can tell you firsthand, from a producer standpoint, if you get a script from somebody and it's just no good, and you went out of your way to try to help them, like an acquaintance or a close friend or whatever it may be, or even just anybody that came to you with a script and it's just no good, if you don't impress on that first time, you kind of blow it. It's really, really hard for somebody to get on board with wasting their time again to give you another shot, unless they saw promise in your work, right? Or unless they see something in you and they want to give you another shot. But I think even with acting, if you go into a casting office and you stink it up, they're never going to call you again, right? I think that's pretty safe to say. So it takes hard work, but it also takes timing. Don't jump out there and just send your work out immediately. And this is different from content creators. Don't get me wrong. I think that if you're creating content, I think you just need to make it and you have to put it out there to the degree that is comfortable. I mean, once you start, you may have your first few projects be, stinkers, but eventually you want to take those down once the quality of your work really gets a lot better. I think, advising for quite a few filmmakers, and then also having back in my day when people were advising me, they're like, oh, take down whatever your short film was from, a decade ago because it's not going to do anything for your career. And that's absolutely true. You don't want, bad stuff that's out there in the ether is going to do you more harm than good, right? It's better that you have no stuff, or it's better that you have one thing or two things that is really good than like 10 things that are just, below average. So take your time, settle in to your groove, into your niche. And then once you're ready and once you're confident in that, and once you feel like, okay, and this is all about having self-awareness and being totally objective with your work. And once you feel like, okay, this is really, really solid, then you can go out and you can start taking it around, because now you're not going to blow it. and it's unfortunate because I don't think this is the greatest advice with really anything else in life. I really don't. I think in anything else in life, you just should go out there and you should just start giving it your best shot like right away. But in this industry, you really have one chance to impress, and I think you need to be really, really careful with the chips that you put on the table, and being very, very strategic. Strategy is really everything here. The second part of that question, what model should I follow if I want to break into the industry, is that there's a model. So this is kind of where I get into my whole strengths spiel again. I really believe that everybody has their own strength, and everybody, even if they have similar strengths, they have an angle to it. Like, for example, say you're really good at dialogue, but maybe you're really good at comedy dialogue, or maybe you're really good at suspenseful dialogue, or horror dialogue, or some genre that you're really that really resonates with you. Like, everybody has a genre. I feel every writer really has like that, like their style. From my experience, like personally, I can say, suspense thriller is kind of my genre where I can really shine, right? Or dramedy is kind of like those genres right there. I get the humor in that, and everybody has their own little thing that they're good at, right? So find out what that thing is good, that you do is find out what you do very well, and then go ahead and just do that. Obviously, again, self-awareness. What are you not good at? And what are you good at? Lead with what you're good at, and then while you improve on what you're not great at. I would say in my experience, leading with script doctoring, I did a lot of script doctoring, and then did a lot of ghostwriting. It just kind of comes with the territory. And in that process, I realized what I'm really good at, and so I led with that. That's what got me the script doctoring jobs. Now, when I was in that setting, and then I had to work with somebody that was a lot better than me at some other angle, which dialogue, for example, just being part of a project where you worked with somebody and it was still your baby, because every project that you work on is yours. You have to own it. So even if someone else comes in and puts their spices into the pot, it elevates you in a way. It's like a cool little effect that and that's what I love about collaborating, is that when you work with somebody who's really great, you kind of steal a little bit of that mojo. And so you realize, oh, they use this technique. This is how they do this, and this is how they do that. And you can kind of learn. So especially when you're working on a project, and I get this a lot from the writers that I work with in the writer's room settings, are, they work with me on a project, and, by all means, in this project that we're producing in October, I pulled this writer that I thought was really talented, but she hadn't done much. But she was, but I saw promise in her work, and I read a couple of her scripts, and I thought, she's got something going on. She needs a little bit more tweaking. And then working on a project together with her, it elevated her game. I read her next script after we finished this project, and her game just elevated by like 10 notches, because she picked up things. Her weaknesses just naturally got stronger just by being around people who don't allow her weaknesses to percolate to the surface, right? We use her strengths, and then we use our strengths, and we build it all up together. So, using your strengths, you can use that as long as you're honest with yourself. Because I think a lot of people have that problem of wanting to be something, or having that idea in their head of what they are, instead of really being honest with themselves of what they are at the moment. It's okay if you want to be like the next Quentin Tarantino and be a writer-director, but right now, maybe you don't have that opportunity, or maybe, there's something about your game that has to get better, so then you have to improve it. Still lead with your strength and collaborate with people, because that's how you're actually going to get better. So that's how you really start your model. And I think that's how a lot of people today, like just today, 2019, what's going to get you ahead is really leading with your strengths, because I know firsthand, finding people that are specialty writers or specialty, listen, you have a set, everybody specializes in something. The DP, the AD, these are, the production manager, these are all very, very valuable people to your set, crucial really to the success of your film. And so everybody, a big set is a giant collaboration to a degree. So even when you're down on like the micro level of just developing a script or developing a story, you need to know what your strengths are, and then you can offer that. I would say to kind of use your strengths to mold your to create a path instead of looking at whatever model somebody else did. Which, don't get me wrong, it's good to look at how other people did it, but for you, use that strength that you have and then offer it to people. This is the same, honestly, the same as any other business. If you got a plumber that can unclog the main drain because whatever's stuck in there, and they do the job well, you're going to call them back when when your bathtub isn't draining properly, or whatever it isn't draining properly, because you know that they can get the job done. And this is really, in this industry, as we know, everybody works for free. I mean, people put in a lot. Not only do they work for free, they put in money before they ever see a dime. And I think that's consistent with everybody that I've ever spoken to or worked with. They put in years of toil before they ever saw a penny come back to them. So, go out and give your services to somebody. I started off going to producers and saying, hey, what do you want? Like, can I do anything? What are you looking for? And they'll say, oh, I'm looking for such and such genre. And I would just go and try to write it. Right. And just try to get it done that way, in the best way possible. Offer your services for free at the beginning. And then once people, it's just like anything else. If you can make someone see value and make someone, find a way to leverage your skills to make money, someone's going to keep calling you back. Just like the plumber. They're going to be like, okay, Joe Blow is really, really good at, restructuring or doctoring, or really good with dialogue, and I hired him or her on the last job, and let's see what she'll do this time. It's all about getting yourself out there and allowing people to see what you do best, and just leading with that. Because once you do that job really well, like for example, the plumber analogy again, they did a job really well. Next time, your pipes are leaking, you got to get the whole house repiped, and they get that $20,000 job to repipe the house, they're going to be super happy, instead of like the $150 dollar clear the clog in the main drain job. Right? It's all about just leading with your skills and just doing a great job for people, and really putting your best foot forward, and always trying your best to give people value, and they're just going to call you back. And you may find yourself in a situation where someone's going to be so impressed with your strengths that they're going to be like, hey, what else can you do? That's just what happens. And I think that's how you build a network in general. It's just, you just give people value. And so, I think we have to rephrase this question of what model should I follow if I want to break in an industry, to just how do I open some doors? That's really it. So I've kind of given 4 basic points, and they all intersect in a way. So I'll just lay them all out there and I'll touch upon them. Number 1 is dedication. Number 2 is endurance. Number 3 is self-awareness. And number 4 is strategy. Right? So when I say dedication, I don't just say, okay, you're dedicated. I think you need to find other dedicated people. And surprisingly, this is extremely difficult. I've been in this industry for so long. I can name you 5 people, maybe less than that, on one hand. I can count the amount of people that are still around, that didn't move back to wherever in Pennsylvania because it just didn't work out. Who is dedicated? And I think there's a really easy solution to figure out who's dedicated. And this is exactly what I did. Someone was like, yeah, let's I would say, I got this idea, let's go ahead and do it, and boom, 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 let's get it done. And I call them the next day. And if they're like, oh yeah, let's circle back on Monday, and you call them on Monday, and sooner or later they're just going to stop answering the call if they're not committed. And those are the people that you want to avoid. And it's very easy. You get rid of those people. Those people are repelled by hard work. So as long as you're doing the hard work, you're going to find people. You're just going to attract the people that also value hard work. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a lot of them out there. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But if you want to make it, you got to work really, really hard, and you got to lead with that hard work, and the people will come. Now, endurance, which was my second point, you're gonna have to be here for a while. I remember having a meeting actually with a director when I was just starting out, and he just released a film, and I was like, man, I really want to get into directing and screenwriting and all that kind of stuff, and I was acting at the time, and he was like, listen, man, you'll be in it for a decade before something happens for you. And you know what? He was right. I thought, damn, a decade. No, I can do it quicker. No, but that's actually right. I think it takes about a decade. And listen, it may happen faster for some people, but I think you need to be willing to be in this industry and really hustle for a decade. And it's simply because there's just so many people and there's so much competition, and everybody from every city around the world wants to come to Los Angeles or to Hollywood to make a career in the film industry. So you just have naturally a lot of competition. And listen, there's a lot of talent. It's all about endurance. I think out of, all the people that come down, a majority of them don't go anywhere, right? Or they give up. They have one foot in, they have one foot out. This is just my experience. They're not really dedicated. So if you're dedicated and you're in it for a while, and you're you're dedicated to improving your craft, and you're self-aware, again, my third point, being self-aware of what are you good at and what you need to improve. Listen, this is difficult. I look back and I kind of cringe because, it's not like I was always super self-aware about what I was great at or not great at. I think when you're starting off, and especially in storytelling or filmmaking, but primarily like screenwriting and storytelling, you're just not exactly, you don't know how good you are until you get very good, right? And then you look back and you're like, ooh, I thought I was good then. I wasn't so good then, right? And so being self-aware at that point and understanding that these basic devices within story that you need to really know like the back of your hand, or that need to be instinctual, you need to be really self-aware about what needs improvement. I mean, I was resistant to certain basic principles that I talk about now really early on because, I just had an idea of like, no, this is the way I see it. And, it has to, it'll be great if it's this way. And I understand, I talk about goals all the time, character goals, and, the parallel between characters having goals and you having a goal in your life. I mean, a story can't move forward without a character with a goal. And I think that's really one of those things that takes a lot of writers, for some reason, quite a bit to figure out. And, it's part of why I do this podcast, is I want people to figure out how to write these stories, or figure out, they're not even secrets. I mean, everybody says it, but just like, cracking that code, or just like, solving that Rubik's Cube, for some reason, it just kind of evades so many writers and storytellers early on. And, but, try, just always strive to get better, be dedicated to that, and be willing to take that long enduring road. I'd also say strategy is number 4. So strategy is, listen, you hear my baby screaming in the background. Strategy is something that we need to have really from the outset. I talk about it all the time. Before you pick up a pen to write something, really know what you're going to do with the project. Listen, I always say I don't hate on anybody that's going to go and make a project just for themselves or just for their friends or do anything. I think that's actually what you should do when you start off. It's, in the vein of not blowing it or not trying to go out and put forth a product that isn't solid enough. Go and make these projects that maybe, you're not so sure about, and get them out there, right? Get them out there and see what you can do, and see what the response is. But if you're going to really try to go and make a push in a career, in like a career strategy, you got to know what you're going to do before you even pick up that pen and you start writing that story. Like, you got to know your genre. You got to know your audience. It sounds so lame. I used to hate when like these old timers would tell me this, like a teacher would say this to me, or whatever a mentor would tell me. I'd be like, whatever, like I want to do what I want to do. But I think now getting to this point, at some point you're just the switch is going to have to flip, and it's going to have to be like, you know what, I'm done doing this for free. I got to make money. And how am I going to do that? I've got to strategize, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this project. So, with anything that I do, it's always, number one is, what's the market? If I'm going to go and make a movie, I got to know who the market is. Yeah, it's pretty basic. It's like any product. No one's going to invest in a business unless they know what the market's going to be. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're selling, right? You can be selling, toilet paper, like, to who, right? Like, what is your demographic? Who's your market? And that basically is the groundwork for your marketing strategy. Now, you have to think about that really from the outset. What is your genre? Who are your characters? What is your rating as far as like your are you PG-13, PG, rated R? Like, what are you trying to make here, and who are you trying to appeal to? And maybe you're just trying to make a project that's just going to appeal. Maybe you're doing like digital content, right? And you want to appeal to corporations because you want to make these ridiculously like, cost-effective videos that generate a lot of revenue. A lot of people do it. I love it. I love doing those jobs. Then you have to go ahead and you have to write the content for that. You have to strategize. How do you reel those people in? What kind of content can you make that can set you apart? If you want to be a film director and you want your stuff to get seen, what kind of project can you make that will give you the best shot at getting distribution, right? I can tell you off the bat, I hate to say it, it's not going to be a drama. It's not going to be a comedy. It's going to be a thriller, suspense, action, or a combination of those: action, sci-fi, fantasy, epic. Now, some of these are going to be really hard to make. Horror is a big one. Horror is, can't believe that wasn't the first one I said, because horror is the big one. They sell internationally. Now, what can you do? That's just the market that we're in. So I just would consider that. I would create that strategy. So again, dedicate yourself. Find other people that are dedicated. Be willing to endure for a long time. Be self-aware and know what your strengths are. Lead with that. Get out there. Work for people. Show off your skills. Show off your strengths while you work on your weaknesses, and strategize. Next time you make a project, strategize. Nothing will help sell you better than a good script that people, when they hear it, especially producers, especially sales agents and distributors, they hear the concept of like, oh wow, that is going to sell pretty easily in international markets. Nothing is better for your career than doing that.